Hello everybody, Andrew Field here. I I know it's been a little while since I made a video, but there's been a lot of news that's happened even in the past couple of days. So yeah, I'm going to get into it, but I just wanted to say beforehand that this is probably the last video I'm going to make before I go to campus at University of Iowa, because I'm going to be leaving there pretty soon, to go there pretty soon. So the plan is to keep making videos that while I'm there, but I don't know how busy I'm going to be, so I'm going to try to keep making videos and updating you guys about the news, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, the first story, Donald Trump made a statement a little while ago saying like people are refusing to take the vaccine because they don't trust the Biden administration or the election results, which is sad that he's still like putting that out there. But this was from July 20th, so this is from a little while ago. But I'm just gonna share still the statistics because it's showing how bad COVID is getting in the U.S. So as of July 20th, the deaths from COVID-19 in the U.S. were up 12% from 2 weeks before then. Hospitalizations were up 50%, and it's the main factor is the new Delta variant. Alabama's governor said it's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, which I thought was pretty bold to say, being the governor of Alabama. And the reason why Alabama is bad is they're the only, I think they have the worst vaccination rate in the country, because only 39% of the state's population has gotten at least one vaccine dose. That was from 2 weeks ago, so it might have changed, but that was the data then. And I think this is pretty current data that 50% of U.S. citizens are fully vaccinated and 70% of U.S. adults have at least one dose of the vaccine. The new solutions to fighting the Delta variant, they say, are possible federal mandates and higher insurance for those who are unvaccinated, which I think is a really good idea because it makes a lot of sense that people who are unvaccinated that will likely get very sick and maybe hospitalized by not getting the vaccine, those people should pay more for insurance because they have a vaccine and a solution that they choose to not use. So this was of yesterday. The U.S. hit 110,000 daily COVID cases, which was the highest numbers reported since February. So that's a 6-month period. And New York City was the first city to require at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine for indoor dining, gyms, and other things. And it came from the New York City mayor, de Blasio. I think that was a good call. Although it probably will have some backlash along the unvaccinated, but who cares? Another thing was the House and Senate were talking about wearing masks again in the chambers because of the Delta variant. And if you haven't seen it, Representative Tim Ryan did a really good job in his speech that he said in the Capitol, and he addressed the ignorant members who, of course, were opposing that. Because the mask guidance was coming from the doctor that they all go to, um, saying that it's the best thing to protect all of them. And it makes a lot of sense because the Congress could be a big hotspot because the Delta variant is affecting, obviously, the unvaccinated a lot more than the vaccinated. And so there's a lot of spots in the U.S. that are really hard hit. I think Missouri, Texas, and Florida definitely. Missouri, there's a lot of states that are hit really hard, but even in states that are have good vaccination rates and are not seeing big spikes, there are certain cities in those states that are receiving spikes. So all these representatives, even ones from like healthier states that it could be in a COVID hotspot, are coming in together, and meeting from all over the country. So obviously that's a big problem. So I think masks are a very reasonable thing to do. Um, the CDC was going backwards, trying to say about implementing masks, and people are going to say CDC doesn't know what they're doing and everything like that. But the thing is that they were doing that because before, when they were saying that people who are vaccinated don't need masks, it was because the Delta variant wasn't around, and with just the normal COVID strain, I think there were other strains out there, but it was before the Delta variant. They were saying that it was okay because the vaccination rates were at a pretty good level for this COVID strain, where we didn't have to worry about it as much, and things were getting better. But because of this Delta strain that is spreading from the unvaccinated mainly, that is why the CDC is saying now that in some areas, people that are vaccinated are going to have to wear masks again. And I'm a little bit worried if I have to take extra precautions and stuff because of this Delta variant, because I think it's a really big deal and it's a big problem right now. So yeah, the UNC Health announced all staff and physicians must be vaccinated to still work there, which is really important. And then the Pentagon recently made COVID-19 vaccinations mandatory for all service members by mid-September. So they're giving them a little bit of a window, but they're telling all the active service members that they have to get the vaccination, which is that was a really big deal, and it was something I didn't expect, but it was a good move, I think, to try and increase the amount of people that are vaccinated, because those people that are in the active military are working for the government, so it's something that's easier for the government to regulate than like businesses and such. Rick Dennison is out as the Vikings assistant coach after refusing to take the COVID-19 vaccine. I've seen many professional sports athletes think they are like above everything and are anti-vaxxers, so I worry about how the NFL and other leagues are going to handle these things. But we'll just have to wait and see with that. And I saw this a while ago on the 23rd of July, but there were more than 100 patients at a U.S. nursing home, two different hospitals that had sick people from an untreatable fungus. 3 people died, but I think the CDC was saying it was something not to worry about, but I don't know. A new report that came out said that Pfizer and BioNTech vaccines, the two vaccines that were one dose, are just 39% effective in Israel against the Delta strain, because the Delta strain is the dominant strain in Israel. So I think what the data seems to be showing, there's not a whole lot of data, but at least from this report, you can see that even though the vaccines were really effective against the COVID strain, obviously, the Delta strain is making things a lot worse. And if this virus keeps on mutating, because there's a bunch of idiots in this country and around the world who are refusing to get vaccinated, there's certain circumstances like medical conditions and stuff where it makes sense. But for people who just don't believe that the vaccine works or is a good idea, or the whole microchip idea, which is really stupid, those people are potentially allowing many mutations that are going to occur, and that's what I'm worried about the most. Um, the report also showed that it's still 88% effective against hospitalizations and 91% effective against severe illness. So, what they're seeing is vaccinated people, some vaccinated people, not all, not most, not the majority, but a decent amount of vaccinated people, I think, are getting COVID from this Delta strain. But the Delta strain is more transmissible, but it's not more deadly, thankfully. So the good news is that if you have the vaccine and you get COVID from the Delta strain, you are unlikely to go to the hospital and very unlikely to die. So it's still a really good thing, and if you haven't gotten vaccinated, you really should do so. But the problem is there's a lot more like younger people that are getting sick, which is not a good sign. The election skeptics were among the GOP's January 6 committee picks. McCarthy pulled his committee choices after Pelosi rejected Representatives Jordan and Banks, and thank gosh he did. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene which is the QAnon idiot, if you haven't remembered who she was hit with a 12-hour Twitter ban over anti-vaccination tweets, and I'm not sure, but I think she might have gotten suspended again since I saw that. Two Republicans that were on the committee are Representatives Adam Kinzinger and Representative Liz Cheney. Now, Liz Cheney was someone who was removed from her position in the House and was rejected by a lot of Republicans because she voted in favor of impeaching Donald Trump. That's literally all she did, and she got rejected by her own party. So she seems to be a really good person right now who's sticking to values over their party. Adam Kinzinger is the same way. He's values over party. I'm really happy that he's representative from Illinois, representing my home state very well. And he's really outspoken, and he was really outspoken about January 6th. So, two really good picks, and I'm glad that there's at least some bipartisanship because those were the only two I would have picked from the House, I think, to serve. So they had their first committee hearing on the January 6th insurrection. They had 4 Capitol police officers that were there on that day testify. They showed some new video from body cam footage of the officers. At one point, one of the officers consoled another Capitol officer, and one officer was dragged into a crowd of people from the insurrection. They ripped off his badge, his ammo, and his radio, and they beat the officer. They tried to kill him with his own gun, and the officer that was getting beat up was also tased. Another officer got his gas mask taken away, Sergeant Gonnell. He said what we were subjected to that day was like something from a medieval battle. That was his quote. Gonnell thought that he was going to die. Officers also blasted lawmakers who denied the truth with the insurrection, most of which were the election. What was that? The people who denied the state official results of the election. Yeah. The room was silent from the House representatives who were there, which was only a select few. I think maybe 10 to 12 people. Select committee members listened to the officers, and some were emotional. Representatives Cheney and Kinzinger spoke on the importance of looking into the insurrection. And meanwhile, Representative Gates and Green, two of the worst representatives in Congress, actually I would say the 2 worst representatives in our Congress, defended the insurrectionists because they are pieces of garbage. And they're trying to cling on to Donald Trump, who is no longer in power and has no social media to contact. So they had a press conference, but thankfully protesters stopped their press conference. This was big news. I've reported about the infrastructure for a while. Biden, I think a while ago, met with representatives from Republicans in Congress trying to work out a deal, and I think there was a tentative deal that was reached like a month or 2 ago, but that they were trying to hash out the details. But thankfully, Congress was supposed to go into a bit of a break session, but they stalled it because they really wanted this to pass. And today, just today, the Senate approved a $1 trillion infrastructure package, which is absolutely amazing, and you'll see how amazing that is when I tell you the vote, because that was shocking to me too. It's set to rebuild roads and bridges as a part of it. $8.3 billion of the $1 trillion is targeted to projects in the West, mainly dealing with the wildfires and preventative measures with that. There's also planning natural infrastructure projects, so also thinking about the environmental concerns. And this bill definitely passed with bipartisan support. The bill passed 69 to 30. Now that is really surprising. Almost 70% of the people in the Senate voted for this bill. 19 Republicans supported this bill, and I saw some of the members included Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell. So that's really impressive. And it was a big win for the Biden administration, who's been trying to push for bipartisanship and camaraderie and working together. So the problem is in the House, I thought initially that it was going to be an easy vote, But I see now that for progressives, this might be an issue, they were saying, so we'll see if it passes in the House. I really hope it does. And then it'll get to Biden's desk if the House passes the bill, which he already said he would pass because he was helping to work on this bill. And he's trying to push the House to get it done, so I'm really hopeful that this bill passes. The Tunisian democracy is in peril, and they face their biggest challenge since the 2011 revolution that triggered the Arab Spring. After President Kais Saied ousted the government, and the move came after protests that happened against the government from a spike of COVID-19 cases. So hopefully the situation can end up being resolved there. With dictator Putin, he said to the Russian Navy that they could carry out an unpreventable strike if needed. And it came after an instance in June that I didn't know about where Russia fired warning shots and dropped bombs in the path of a British warship to get the British ship out of Crimea waters because the international community recognizes Crimea, as a part of Ukraine, but Russia claims that that pathway is a part of Russia. The Black Sea Peninsula. If Russia should attack any NATO ally, I would say the U.S. should burn Russia dry. At least try and take out Putin. I mean, that would be a given if he attacked any NATO ally. President Biden and Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi plan to announce an agreement of a timetable for removing U.S. troops out of Iraq, so that's a big deal. A Florida judge allowed a cruise line to require proof of vaccination, despite the state ban prohibiting companies from adopting measures. The New York Attorney General found New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, guilty of sexually harassing 11 women. And it's really sad, and I thought he should step down and go to jail for those findings. New York Senator Kristen Gillibrand and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer issued a statement calling for the governor to resign. So did President Biden. And that's something that Republicans definitely fail on, is they represent people like Matt Gaetz, who is a sexual predator, along with Donald Trump, who had 22 accusers of sexual harassment, and they let those go under the rug. But then whenever a Democrat faces allegations, they have the audacity to come after them and call out all Democrats because of one Democrat who faces sexual assault allegations, which is completely hypocritical and wrong. But I am very, very glad that the Democratic Party did not just sweep this under the rug like the Republicans do, and they called out, along with President Biden, called out Governor Cuomo and told him that he should resign. So, because of what they did, Andrew Cuomo today announced that he will resign in 2 weeks, following the report from the Attorney General. So that was a big deal, and I just want to say that early on in the pandemic, when we had to listen to Trump every day, which was a disaster, I was really happy that Andrew Cuomo was handling COVID-19 very well in New York. I saw that there was stuff that came out later that wasn't that good, but initially, at least in the way he was speaking and acting, he seemed like a good leader for the country, and I liked him, but after this report came out from the Attorney General, it totally changed my view of Andrew Cuomo. I mean, 11 different women coming out. They said that he was guilty. It's really disgusting. So yeah, not only am I glad that he resigned, but I think that he does deserve to go to jail. Crazy statistic that came about from 2020. Of 2020, the life expectancy in America dropped by a year and a half in 2020 to 77.3 years of age as the average life expectancy. It's around the same level as 2003, which is 17 years ago. The biggest single year drop since World War II, which is absolutely insane. 112 people died from monsoon rains and causing floods and landslides in India. Unfortunately, I haven't checked about that pretty recently, so it might have been more casualties than I have said, but hopefully those have cleared up in India and they can recover from that. The families and the country can rebuild from the damage that was caused. Anti-vaccine protests that happened in Paris turned violent with clashes against police. There was ratings that came out, approval ratings about President Biden's that came out. Sorry, about President Biden that came out last month. That said, his approval ratings are 50%, dropping 6% from June, which I think is extremely bipartisan. Or sorry, which is extremely partisan in my opinion. You'll see the numbers, but I would say the infrastructure package, if it passes, would definitely raise his approval rating. So the numbers were only 12% of Republicans, the poll said. I think it was only like 1,000 people, but it said only 12% of Republicans approve of President Biden, 48% of independents, which is kind of sad because I don't understand that, but 90% of Democrats in the poll said they approve President Biden. I definitely approve of what he's done. Between the American Relief Package and infrastructure and the issues that he's dealing with, along with the vaccine rollout, I'm really impressed with how he's been handling things, especially since he's only been in office in June, or January, sorry. So he's been in office for a little over 8 months now, and he's done a really good job, in my opinion. The Cleveland baseball team is changing its name next season to the Cleveland Guardians. They formerly were known as the Cleveland Indians. And I just wanted to say sports news, even though it's old now. But Tampa Bay Lightning won their second consecutive cup over the Montreal Canadiens, second cup in a row over the Montreal Canadiens. And the Milwaukee Bucks earned their first NBA title since 1971, and Giannis definitely deserved the win. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you next time. Stay safe, and peace be with you.